Okay, there we go. Holy fucking shit. Fuck me. The amount of technical difficulties.
Yes, effective September 25th, you can carry an open firearm, but there are places that you still are restricted.
So, Florida just legalized open carry, and on the surface, that sounds like a win, because for years, people in Florida have been fighting.
Well, I've only taken the first injection of Boldenone. The only thing I've noticed so far is that I do feel calmer. Which isn't bad. It's a nice feeling.
For it. And I'll tell you straight up, I don't have a problem with that. But here's the thing. I don't just want to talk about the fact that Florida legalized open carry. I want to talk about what open carry really means in today's society. Because to me, open carry is less about politics or ideology and more about tactics. And that's why I'll say something that's going to rub some people the wrong way. Open carry, at least to me, is an outdated concept. Tactically, not politically, tactically. And the differences matter. Now, before you light me up in the comment section, let me be clear. I think open carry is necessary, but for reasons that might not be atypical. You see, real life is dynamic. You see, shirts ride.
I've just been injecting into my delts. I'll probably start injecting into my glutes too, just for more injection sites.
Up. Jackets blow open. You bend over to grab a gallon of milk, and suddenly everyone in Now 7 knows you're strapped. Without open carry protection, that could technically land you in some legal trouble if there are laws against so-called brandishing or exposing firearms and so forth and so on. Just the other day, I'm on the toll road and a group of bikers flew by me, and one guy was leaning forward on his bike and the wind was blowing his shirt up, and there it was, a Glock 43X on his hip, clear as day. He wasn't open carrying per se. He wasn't even trying to open carry at all, actually, from what I can tell, but his gun was showing. And without open carry laws, that's the kind of thing that can turn into a legal headache. So yes, open carry laws, necessary. But actually walking around with your gun hanging out on purpose, you see, that's where I think the concept kind of breaks down a little bit. Tactically. I'm going to keep reiterating that. Tactically. You see, back in the day, people used to argue open carry was a deterrent, that if a criminal saw a gun on your hip, they'd back down. But that to me is kind of an old school mentality. That's thinking about crime like it's 1985, guys in ski masks robbing a bank, then calling it off because one customer had a 38 special on his belt. The sheriff in Florida honestly said it perfectly.
Some people think, well, if I'm carrying a firearm, I'll announce my presence
Don't think Boldenone really does anything to blood glucose.
and my intentions. You don't scare away real bad guys by carrying a firearm in a holster. You don't scare real bad guys by slinging an AR-15 over your shoulder. A real bad guy will take it from you and stick it up your butt and then discharge it.
Spoken in true Florida form, but it's true. And if you think he's exaggerating, go on YouTube. There are countless videos that I've done on open carriers having their guns stolen right off of their hips. Like this one.
Police say the victim was standing in line waiting to check out when the man grabbed the gun from a holster on his hip. The two struggled before the suspect gained control of the weapon. That man accused of pointing it at the victim before taking off. Detectives say in this Hyundai.
Guy just standing there minding his business. Someone walks up and snatches his gun like it's a candy bar. Or this one.
Jeez.
Same story. Or this one.
They should literally never let people like that out of prison. That should give you a life sentence.
I love my girlfriend so much, but she won't make her cat vegan. What should I do? Sometimes I'm afraid she'll leave me for Frank Tufano because of his sexy neck tattoos. Any advice?
Break up with her because she's a dumb bitch. That's really the only advice I have for you. Your girlfriend's dumb bitch, break up with her. Thanks for the donation though, Jew Lover. Did you see Frank's cringe stream? Did he do another one?
This isn't theory. This happens. And when it does, the gun you bought to protect yourself just got recycled into the hands of the criminal standing in front of you. That's not deterrence. That's a damn disaster. And here's the part that really matters. The one tactical advantage an armed citizen has, the only tactical advantage, is the element of surprise. And the same sheriff in Florida said it plain as day.
But carrying a concealed firearm gives those carrying the firearm the element of surprise. The people that are going to carry firearms illegally for nefarious purposes are already doing that. So what we're doing is we're telling the good folks, carry your firearm and carry it concealed.
And SJWS say everyone deserves a second chance.
Not everybody. Not everybody. Thanks for the donation though, Dodo.
And that's legal in Florida, with the exceptions I just talked about. The law now says you can carry it openly. That's the law. I'm not a fan of that. I'm a big Second Amendment guy. But why am I not a fan of open carry? Because you lose the tactical advantage should you need the firearm.
Think about it like this. Criminals already have surprise on their side. That's what crime is. It's unexpected. You're pumping gas, they roll up. You're in a store, they walk in. Their plan relies on you being caught off guard. But if you're concealed carrying, you can flip that script. They don't know who's armed or where the gun is or how many people in a room are packing. The uncertainty forces hesitation. And hesitation, that's the crack you need to act. Open carry kills that. It's like sitting down at a poker table and showing everyone your hand before the first bet. Sure, you've got cards, but now everyone knows what you're holding and they're planning around that. And if you think I'm just theorizing, let's go back to what the sheriff said again.
I am suggesting to you, if you expose a firearm, you're making yourself a target. And you're telling the bad guy, I can rip this firearm off of this old man or this old lady.
We just started the stream 9 minutes
and then
ago,
use it against them in whatever manner I want.
And that's why open carriers aren't, to me, deterrents. They're priorities. If you're visibly armed...
React to these. Svaria telegram clip, clavicular ments, and pug gets mogged by a Doberman.
Alright, let's see.
Gooning mogs sex. In terms of efficiency, yeah, probably. And stimulus. Because think about it. Gooning is a 15 to 20 minute activity, whereas if you have to have a girl over, you can't just kick her to the curb right away. You have to talk to her for 15 minutes, and then you have to start making out with the chick. Then you have to do this. Finally, you slay. But it's not just that. Now she wants to lay on your shoulder. Now she wants to cuddle or whatever. And it's just like, dude, can you just leave the house? You have to yap about random shit. I'm like sitting here conversing about God only knows. I would rather talk to a literal autist on Discord about facial ratios for 8 hours. The more tiring thing is the fact that you have to pretend that you're interested. You can't just say, that's boring as let's just go have sex. You have to say, oh, that's so interesting, tell me more. You have to put on this big fucking smile on your face, and it's like, dude, why can't we just be logical and objective? We both know why you're here. We both know why you have Tinder. Can we just stop like beating around the bush and like just get into it, and then you just leave me alone so I could just go back?
I mean, he's not wrong. pug's cute still. You didn't send me the Spherage Telegram clip, but thanks for the donation, nigga.
Not even little Jack Horner could redeem himself at the end of Puss in Boots: The Last Wish.
I never saw that movie. Thanks for the donation, though, Dodo.
You're not the reason the bad guy calls off the robbery. You're the first person they deal with in the robbery. You're the obstacle to clear. That's why bank robbers neutralize security guards first. That's why gang members grab guns off of unsuspecting carriers. You don't scare them. You make yourself the warm-up drill. Now, some people say open carry is just more comfortable, and I can't really argue with that. Or that women struggle to conceal because of the clothes they wear. Hell, I've made that argument myself. But now that I think about it more, let's keep it real. How many women do you think are gonna strap an outside the waistband belt and holster over a black cocktail dress? It's not happening. Even with jeans, concealment's not impossible. Purse carry is a whole other debate, but it's a reality. And honestly, I don't know many women who want to walk around with a gun fully exposed, not from a tactical standpoint and definitely not from an aesthetic standpoint. And this is why I think open carry is kind of outdated.
November 10th, 2025, 22-year-old Tyler Robinson decided he wouldn't be attending his electrical apprenticeship program at Dixie Technical College. At 8:23, he walked to his gray Dodge Challenger, and a little while later, he drove off to Utah Valley University. 3 hours after that, at 11:49, he exited his car wearing a different set of clothes, a cap, dark sunglasses, and visibly limping toward the parking lot adjacent to the UVU campus. He walked up the parking lot stairs, headed to the Low C Center, and then was nowhere to be seen. Meanwhile, conservative speaker Charlie Kirk was hosting one of his debate events on campus, roughly 200 yards away from where Tyler was. At exactly 12:23, a single shot rang out, piercing the left side of Kirk's throat, sending the entire campus into chaos. Although he was quickly rescued and rushed to the hospital, he only lasted for about an hour when his passing was officially confirmed. To add to the already extremely tragic situation, CCTV footage showed Tyler, then unknown to the authorities, fleeing the scene and successfully evading capture, seemingly holding on to a bag with his weapon in it. Part of why he was able to escape were two people who drew attention to themselves immediately after the attack took place. The first is George Zinn, who falsely confessed to the shooting and was promptly detained, and was recorded being escorted by the police with his pants down, as he repeatedly asked them to shoot him.
We don't know if it's him or not.
As it turns out, George Zinn is a man with a lifelong career of being a deranged nuisance orbiting political events. There are pictures of him accosting the former Utah House Speaker Greg Hughes, as well as former New York Mayor Rudy Giuliani. But more importantly, George is on record claiming to have personally witnessed 9/11 and instantly knowing that Al-Qaeda was behind it. Given Zinn's profile, this was most likely a tall tale, a false account to get attention. Something similar happened in 2013, when shortly after the Boston Marathon bombing, he emailed the Salt Lake City Marathon organizers and offered to help place bombs, which got him arrested for the threats. Other things noted in his legal records are commitments to mental hospitals, being arrested for theft of services, failure to disclose his identity, jaywalking, and other stuff like that. Due to the extremely
This guy's a weirdo.
controversial nature of this entire thing, George Zinn ended up being massively misreported as being Jewish, a narrative that found its way even to former NFL star Antonio Brown. However, George is actually a mentally ill man of Greek descent, with a Mormon religious background and a history of pulling this kind of stunt. Just a little while after he was detained, they noticed that he had no weapon on him, and there was no weapon discarded in the area he was in, meaning he couldn't have committed the crime. This doesn't mean he was innocent though, as when the police brought him in for processing, he had a medical issue that led to him being taken to a local hospital. There, he admitted that he did what he did to purposely hinder law enforcement from getting the real guy, and when asked by cops for his phone, he volunteered, but not before informing the police that he had illegal material involving children on it. As if that weren't enough, he then specified to the cops that he was in possession of the material for his own gratification and had a preference for girls from ages 5 through 12. Given this guy already has dozens of previous serious cases, I hope he stays locked up for good. Another person of interest that immediately emerged following the attack was a man named David, who was recorded cheering and chanting USA immediately following the shot. While this man's full name is harder to find than George Zinn's, he actually took to Twitter to identify himself as the one chanting, trying to explain that he did it to draw attention so the security team could escape. At face value, this is extremely suspicious, and although it's unsure if this was the second person whom law enforcement detained, it would make sense given he gave them a good reason to believe he was at least involved with whoever committed the assassination. However, a brief examination of his social media account makes it clear as day that this man too is clearly suffering from some intense delusion. In videos he posted, he suggests that Charlie Kirk was a soldier of his and speaks from the perspective of every major religion, which you don't need to be a mental health specialist to recognize as a telltale sign of schizophrenia. Despite George and David clearly committing obstruction of justice, there is no evidence indicating that they were in on what happened. Over the course of the next day, law enforcement swarmed the location and started piecing together the shooter's movements leading up to the assassination, and a series of strange things were discovered. While examining the vantage point and CCTV footage that showed his
once again, and SJWSB live pedo creeps like that can redeem themselves.
Yeah. Oh yeah, new Wolverine trailer. Forgot about that. Thanks for the donation, Dodo. Been a while since we got an update. Hey, Omega Red.
Been fighting longer than I can remember.
Well, thank fuck, it's M-rated. I was worried. They made good on their promise. Imagine a rated teen Wolverine game.
I'd like to say I'm not a violent man.
How and where did you manage to get steroids? I'm honestly looking to get some. Any suggestions?
You get them online from a UGL supplier. Thanks for the donation, dude.
The trouble just has a way of finding me. But I'd be lying. Doesn't matter where I go. How far I run. Death's always waiting. Just not for me.
It's kind of weird. A lot of them are cyborgs. Hey, mistake.
Because I ain't no hero. I'm Wolverine.
Oh. Well, that's nice that they released a trailer. Fall 2026. So we got a year to go. Hopefully the PC version releases around the same time. Rather not have to wait a year or two for that.
escape from the scene, they eventually found that the killer had dumped his weapon nearby, wrapped in a towel. The weapon, which is a Mauser Model 98 30-06 caliber bolt-action rifle with a mounted scope, was found along with its bullets. The casing, which was spent, had the words "Notices bulge, oh whoa, what's this?" engraved on it. If you're familiar with this kind of language, which I unfortunately am, this is a meme phrase usually associated with traps. Basically, the idea of it being that the
Hottest in the X-Men universe. It's gotta be Rogue.
speaker is attracted to a person who looks like a woman only to find out that they have a bulge, which the speaker is then interested in. And the word OO being a classic emote associated with anime. The intended irony here is obvious, as Charlie Kirk is infamous for his opposition to transgenderism, so having this phrase engraved on it immediately suggests a political motive. There were 3 more casings, all of which were unspent. The first one read, "Hey fascist, catch," followed by an up arrow, a right arrow, and 3 downward arrows, which is the stratagem code for the Eagle 500 kilogram bomb in Helldivers 2. Like the previous casing, this one also had a clear political message with an internet culture related element. The second unspent casing had a brief passage of the song Bella Ciao on it, an old Italian folk song closely tied to the anti-fascist movement. Again, clearly political in nature. Although, unlike the other ones, this one has no internet subculture aspect to it. Lastly, the third unspent casing read, "If you read this, you are gay. Lamau." These casings alone strongly suggested that whoever the shooter was, it was someone young, at least someone young enough to be familiar with these online phrases. Unfortunately, even with the prints being lifted from the weapon, they weren't able to identify a culprit. At least to the public's knowledge, these prints didn't immediately reveal the shooter's.
Yeah, the X-Men Origins Wolverine tie-in game was way better than it had any business being. That was probably the best movie tie-in game ever made. That was like shockingly good for the time, especially.
Identity, although they would become useful whenever a person of interest was detained. For the next day or so, despite information slowly being made available to the public, it didn't seem like law enforcement were making significant progress in the case. Given how high profile an incident it was, and how much it had inflamed the United States as a whole, people were pretty worked up, and unsurprisingly, they launched their own investigations. Once again, things get a little tricky, but this time around, it's a bit more complicated. It's important to say that as far as any of us know, none of these people are responsible for, implicated in, or in any way related to the assassination. However, it is important to take everything into consideration, especially considering how ominously foreshadowing some of the posts I'm about to talk about are. The first of these is a set of tweets by someone named Omar, with multiple Twitter handles. The tweets from the 9th of September read, "Charlie Kirk is coming to my college tomorrow. I really hope someone evaporates."
Yay, no, if SJWSB live everyone is a seeing chances, then why do they murder people like Charlie Kirk and want to kill people like Trump?
Don't know if you can blame that on SJWs. Thanks for the donation though, Dodo.
Him, literally. Let's just say something big will happen tomorrow. After the shooting happened, this person came back to Twitter to say, "Charlie Kirk got shot. Bro, I promise I didn't have anything to do with it. But I called it, and it's so deserved." Eventually, this person took down their own Twitter account, and someone completely unrelated took the other handle to prevent it from being taken and used by scammers. Side note, this only kind of worked because if you look up the handle on Twitter now, the first result is a fake account promoting a crypto scam in the name of Charlie. Pretty disgusting stuff. As people saw this tweet and had a revelation of someone who accurately called that this would happen, someone looked up that handle on Google, found the first picture of a person, and then spread the claim that this person was Omar or Najra Galv's, their Twitter handle. The thing is, if you look up someone's Twitter handle online and go on the images tab, you may get the images of any account that may be associated.
Jalen donating $2. Is X-Men Origins Wolverine better than Batman Arkham Asylum or Arkham City? Kind of depends what type of game you want to play. I would say Arkham Asylum, that's arguable. Arkham City, probably not. But it kind of depends on what type of game you want to play. Thanks for the donation, Jalen.
Associated with theirs for whatever reason. They could have replied to each other years ago and it pops up. In this case, the person in.
How many hours of sleep do you get a night? Usually sleep like 8 hours, and ideally I'd take like a 2 or 3 hour nap in the afternoon.
The image is an account named Michaela Ultra from Seattle, whose account is now protected. The thing is, decoupling these two accounts was not enough for a lot of people, who promptly went through their tweets and found a reply from Michaela Ultra to a limited account that expressed they weren't fans of Charlie Kirk. Additionally, 2 other tweets were screenshotted, which read, "I'm crashing out. Coming apart at the seams. You're watching it live in real time. Keep your eyes peeled on the news." When someone replied to them suggesting they would be the next trans shooter, Michaela Ultra replied by saying, "Finally someone who is smart enough to read between the lines and figure out what all my Dr. Pepper posting is about." Now, as ominous as all of that sounds, especially since these tweets were made just a day prior to the assassination, and Michaela bearing some resemblance to AI-enhanced CCTV images of the assassin, the explanation to these tweets lies in the mention of Dr. Pepper. None of the tweets made on the day prior to the attack had anything to do with Charlie Kirk, conservatism, and it clearly wasn't serious, as they were all related to DMs exchanged with the Dr. Pepper Twitter account, demanding to talk to the real Dr. Pepper. On Instagram, they made a post saying, "I am suspended from Twitter, so I can't post proof of life there, but I would like to confirm that I am not the Charlie Kirk shooter." As far as I could tell, MKayla or Michaela Ultra never hinted at doing anything to Charlie Kirk, nor condoned what happened on the 10th. As far as who was really behind the Omar Twitter account, one person was found. First name Omar, last name Najera, like the Twitter handle, who also identified specifically as non-binary, just like the Twitter account. However, this person hasn't spoken out as of yet, and again, there is no specific evidence tying them to the crime. There was someone else, however, with much more incriminating material on their socials. Much like what happened to Michaela, as people ravenously dug through online posts to find evidence of someone connected to that Omar account who had hinted at what would happen to Kirk, they found a certain Sky Valadez. Sky was a member of a band called God's Finest Scalpel, or simply God's Finest, which was featured on a post of account Click Click Boom. Here, they're tagged as Straight Death, and if that name wasn't suggestive enough of some kind of terrorism, God's Finest had a song titled Charlie Kirk Dead at 31, which was up on its SoundCloud long before the attack happened, and a similar song called Charlie Kirk's Death Isn't Enough for Me on Bandcamp, from an album titled Death to American Scum. While that is all pretty on the nose, it could just be excessively edgy trans activism. When people took to the comments of the Dead at 31 song on SoundCloud, Sky replied, "I'm not a student at any college. I don't support political violence. This song was a massive coincidence, and I'm leaving it at that. I will not take this down, as I believe in my First Amendment rights, and I believe that if you think this is disgusting, you're worried about the wrong thing." This response could have laid the issue to bed, but the people looking into this stuff weren't just looking for potential culprits.
You don't need to tell her, is this doctor saying not getting ionizing and infrared radiation from the sun results in increased autism. Is this true? No.
Cram.com. Welcome to another MedCram video. Today we're going to be talking about the recent announcement from the White House that Tylenol use in pregnancy may be contributing to autism rates. This is Dr. Roger Schwelt. I'm a board-certified internal medicine physician, also board-certified in pulmonary disease, critical care medicine, and also sleep medicine. And I'm also the founder of medcram.com, where we have medical education videos for healthcare providers and also for those people who are interested at medcram.com. The first thing we're going to talk about is how acetaminophen, or as it's known Tylenol, or paracetamol as it's known in Europe, how is it actually metabolized? The other thing I should mention as well is that Tylenol is found in a lot of different medications. So you really need to look at medications, look on the back, and see if you see acetaminophen, paracetamol, because it's usually paired with a lot of over-the-counter medications. And if you just look for Tylenol on the label, you're not going to find everywhere where acetaminophen actually is. So most of the metabolism occurs in the liver, and that's about 90%, so long as it's a reasonable dose. And obviously this can be supersaturated in an overdose. And this is known as glucuronidation and sulfation. And that gives us a non-toxic product. And actually, about 2% of it is excreted in the urine. 5 to 9% of it gets metabolized to a very toxic chemical called NAPQI, and that's N-acetyl P-benzoquinone imine. This actually is done through the cytochrome P450 system, which is in the liver as well. And this NAPQI is a major pro-oxidant and causes significant oxidative stress. And if it's not dealt with, it can actually lead to cell death. So the body has a way of metabolizing this to a non-toxic substance. But unfortunately, it utilizes something called glutathione and uses the reducing agents from glutathione and converts it into an oxidized version. And so this glutathione, which the body uses as an antioxidant, is used up very quickly, especially when there's high doses of Tylenol, for instance, in overdose cases. In overdose cases, not all of this can go down here to the non-toxic. And so it backs up into this portion here, which causes the NAPQI to skyrocket, and then it causes a complete depletion of glutathione. Now, this is something that I deal with not too infrequently in the intensive care unit when people come in with Tylenol overdose, because what we will do to replace the cysteine and the reducing agents here so that the body can metabolize this appropriately is we'll actually give NAC, which is N-acetylcysteine. Here's the part that I want you to think about. If you're having a situation where your stores of antioxidants or the increase in pro-oxidant situation causes the storehouse of glutathione to be reduced so that you're having too much oxidative stress, for instance, it's possible that just certain amounts of acetaminophen or even chronic use at lower levels could deplete glutathione because of this system of metabolism. And so it may be possible for someone to go around perfectly fine, limping along, I guess you could say, with some oxidative stress, and the occasional use of acetaminophen could actually cause a reduction in glutathione and cause process.
Dodo Donate Tiller's VG Silent Hill just released. Check out the reviews. I'm excited to see you play it. When do you think you'll be playing it? Also, do you think funding Mujahideen was a good idea? I mean, what else were you going to do about the Russians?
We also have a history of kind of moving in and out of Pakistan. I mean, let's remember here, the people we are fighting today, we funded 20 years ago. And we did it because we were locked in this struggle with the Soviet Union. They invaded Afghanistan, and we did not want to see them control Central Asia. And we went to work. And it was President Reagan in partnership with the Congress, Mujahideen. And that's great. Let's get some to come from Saudi Arabia and other places, importing their Wahhabi brand of Islam so that we can go beat the Soviet Union. And guess what? They retreated. They lost billions of dollars, and it led to the collapse of the Soviet Union. So there's a very strong argument, which is, wasn't a bad investment to end the Soviet Union, but let's be careful what we sow, because...
Yeah, I mean, what's worse, that or the Soviet Union? Muslim woman was caught stealing at a British supermarket, hiding dozens of items in her burqa. Claims she was a victim of Islamophobia. That's a lot of shit. Well, yeah, they do that. Dude, the new Silent Hill game looks like trash. I'll be perfectly honest with you. Positive reviews.
Enough already!
Door won't budge, door won't budge, door won't budge, door won't budge, door won't budge. I need a key, door won't budge, door won't budge. 10 out of 10 authentic Silent Hill game. Oh god, that sounds horrific.
I do quite envy her, though.
Yeah, that does not sound exciting to me, I gotta tell ya. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Processes that require antioxidants in the cell to not have those antioxidants. And this is important because when we're talking about autism, it is related, and there have been studies that have shown that it is related to oxidative stress and also mitochondrial dysfunction, which requires antioxidant therapy and things of that nature for it to work, because that is where oxidative stress is produced. And so there is biological plausibility here of a way that this could be contributing. This is just a theory at this point here.
Yeah, I know the Dying Light game came out. I haven't taken a look at it yet.
In the presentation. And the question is whether or not there's actual evidence that would be more strongly suggestive. So here's a paper that was published in August of 2025 titled Evaluation of the Evidence on Acetaminophen Use and Neurodevelopmental Disorders Using the Navigation Guide Methodology. The Navigation Guide is a systematic and transparent methodology used to evaluate the quality and strength of evidence in environmental health research, particularly for assessing the impact of environmental exposures on health outcomes. Developed to address the limitations of traditional narrative reviews, it adapts rigorous systematic review principles from clinical sciences, such as those used in the GRADE system, that is the Grading of Recommendations, Assessment, Development, and Evaluation, to environmental epidemiology. The Navigation Guide involves defining a specific research question using a PICO, which is a population exposure comparator outcome framework, conducting comprehensive literature searches, assessing studies for risk of bias, such as confoundation and selection bias, exposure, misclassification, etc., and synthesizing evidence to rate its overall quality and strength. It emphasizes objectivity, consistency, and triangulation across study types, such as observational and experimental, to strengthen causal inference, making it particularly useful for evaluating complex associations like prenatal acetaminophen exposure and neurodevelopmental disorders, as seen in this reviewed study. So let's
Dodo donated $2. The real horror in the game is having to do trivial puzzles to get keys to open doors. I enjoyed thoroughly watching you play Silent Hill 2 Remake, not because the game was good, but because you're funny and it's fun to watch you play, and I like watching you play horror games. Yes, I have to suffer for your entertainment. We'll probably end up playing it anyway, even if it's terrible. Thanks for the donation, though, Dodo.
Let's see here what this study showed. There's been some studies that have shown no
No, I'm not dating anybody.
connection between autism and Tylenol use, for instance, the Swedish twin study. But there are a number of studies that actually do show a connection. And this is one that has been published recently that looked at a number of studies, specifically 46 studies. They did a systematic review using the navigation guide methodology. They analyzed 46 studies on the association between prenatal acetaminophen exposure and neurodevelopmental disorders. Those are NDDs, like autism spectrum disorder and attention deficit hyperactivity disorders, known as ADHD. In offspring, finding that the majority, 27 studies, reported positive associations. That means that as the risk went up in the Tylenol group, the endpoint of autism also went up. They found that acetaminophen, the most common pain and fever reliever used by over 50% of pregnant women worldwide, crosses the placenta and may disrupt fetal brain development through mechanisms such as oxidative stress, interesting, endocrine disruption, and epigenetic changes as supported by experimental evidence. While observational limitations prevent definitive causation claims, confounding factors like maternal illness were addressed. The review recommends cautious use of acetaminophen during pregnancy, the lowest dose for the shortest duration, under medical guidance to balance the risks against untreated conditions. Further research is urged to confirm causality, explore mechanisms, and develop safer alternatives. So this is interesting because it seems as though this study is showing a link, but they cannot say that it is causal, and they do believe that the biological connection here could be through oxidative stress. Now, as many of you who are regular listeners to MedCram, we have discussed quite extensively the connection in COVID-19, oxidative stress, and sunlight, and I don't have to remind many of you that we actually do have data that is now coming out that shows that melatonin, which is probably the most powerful antioxidant, it's actually even more powerful than glutathione, is being made in the mitochondria and can affect major changes in terms of oxidative stress. And it also is interesting that sunlight, specifically infrared light, has been shown to increase that type of antioxidant effect. This is from Russell Ryder 2019. It has now been shown that the mitochondria produce melatonin in many cells in quantities which are orders of magnitude higher than that produced in the pineal gland. The subcellular melatonin does not necessarily fluctuate with our circadian clock or release into the circulation system, but instead has been proposed to be consumed locally in response to the free radical density within each cell, in particular in response to near infrared exposure. So folks, let me clarify exactly what's going on here. What we're saying here is that there is evidence that seems to link autism, which is a mitochondrial dysfunction disorder, among other things, with acetaminophen use. And we've just showed through the well-known metabolism of acetaminophen that it can exacerbate oxidative stress, especially if there is a reduction in available antioxidants. We've now also shown that sunlight particularly contains within it infrared light, which can increase the antioxidant effects. So if you were to remove sunlight, you would see that very clearly the body's ability to produce antioxidants would be limited. Now, Scott Zimmerman and Russell Ryder have also shown in this very article that the optics of the human body, including a woman who is pregnant, that as the uterus grows and the wall of the uterus thins, this opens up a window of...
Dodo donated $2. Let me see. Islamophobia does not exist, however, Muslims, however, has been killing Christians and Jews for over 1,400 years. Oh, yeah. Yep.
This is episode 22 of Viral Food Trends Hacked, and today we're back with another baked dumplings recipe. Let's make this laksa dumpling bake. Completely dairy-free.
That looks good.
And can be made in 30 minutes. It's also so easy to
Not a big fan of the noodles, but on rice, that looks like it could be good.
put together. I've paired these with ramen noodles, bok choy, and tofu puffs for the perfect balanced meal. You can add any Asian greens of your choice, and for protein, you can also add some extra firm tofu. Start by combining minced garlic, laksa paste. I use store-bought, lime juice, soy sauce, red chilies, organic coconut milk, and water to thin out the mixture. Then I'm adding in the chopped bok choy, tofu puffs, and layering the frozen vegan dumplings. Bake this for about 20 to 25 minutes and garnish with more red chilies and chopped coriander. Follow for more quick and easy plant-based recipes.
The United States thinks that Putin is just all worried about us and NATO. Actually, Putin's problem is China. NATO doesn't want Russian territory. Who would want it? It's full of Russians. Stay at home, please. But China might. And also Putin has said, you know, if you really feel deeply about a place, forget about boundary treaties, you should be able to take it. Well, Tsarist Russia took a lot of places from China that the Chinese might feel deeply about that have precisely the resources that China needs, not only energy and all those sorts of things out in Siberia, but water. Lake Baikal holds 20% of the world's surface fresh water. water, and China's been blowing through its water table in North China. And that one, I think the topography works. You could pipe it all in. Here's Putin dumping his ordnance on Ukraine that never wanted to invade while he's letting this problem metastasize.
Trump has created the Presidential Walk of Fame, and Joe Biden's photo is an auto pen. Jesus Christ. Is that for real?
This is my desk. Live streams from 300 stock exchanges, curated tweets, the exact location of oil tankers around the world. But let's say you want to look at a stock, General Motors, for example. After using his fingerprint to log onto his account, Bloomberg gave us a peek behind the curtain. On the left are all of the companies that sell parts to General Motors. And on the right are all of the companies that buy General Motors output, generally cars. The different indices that General Motors stock is in. Here are the other companies that compete with them. Here are the big holders of their stock, analysts that follow it, who's on the board, who works in the company. Why has nobody else done this? For an individual company to do it, it's probably too expensive unless it's your business. This is our business. Of stuff 325,000 professionals pay $25,000 to rent for 1 year. If you do the math, it adds up to about $8 billion. This is my debt.
Jeez, that's crazy. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Then why do Muslims act like they're so persecuted then?
They're full of shit, whiny babies. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
There could be an easy explanation. Autism is mainly genetic, and the correlation could be that autistic mothers have comorbid disorders or feel pain differently, therefore using more painkillers.
Well, I know there is a correlation between age at pregnancy and risk of having an autistic kid. So there could be something there with health disorders and oxidative stress, but yeah, in all likelihood, Tylenol is just a comorbidity, or not a comorbidity, it's a confounding variable, or reverse causation or something. Like, it's associated but non-causal. So it's, you know, there is a plausible mechanism here, but yeah, I mean, very likely not a major factor. So, thanks for the donation though, David.
Of transmission, specifically of infrared light, which has been shown specifically to increase melatonin production in the mitochondria. In fact, this paper that was just published in Nature Scientific Reports this year in July, just a month before, titled Longer Wavelengths in Sunlight Pass Through the Human Body Which Have a Systemic Impact, which Improves Vision, published by Glenn Jeffrey's lab at University College London, shows in this study that sunlight can pass right through the human body, and it causes changes in the mitochondria that can actually have an effect remotely. And of course, that would not exclude the neuron.
Dodo Donatellar's Dr. Arvi has posted extensively about this Tylenol Autism thing, and he says it's completely unfounded, so can you check his Twitter and see what he said? Also, maybe you can call him. I doubt he's on right now, but maybe tomorrow, but check his Twitter. All right, we'll check his Twitter next. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
Brain cells in a fetus. In fact, we actually have good data and photographs here. This is Robert Fosbury, who was a co-author on that study, showing in fact that near-infrared light does pass through the tissue. We have very good evidence now that has been published and that we have reviewed here on our MedCram channel, that near-infrared light, specifically from the sun, can penetrate through the skin out the other side, affect changes at the mitochondrial level that reduce oxidative stress, increase ATP, increase carbon dioxide production because metabolism is improved, and reduce glucose in the systemic circulation because of that increased use of fuels. Also from that article, we have seen very clearly that the very type of light that actually induces this has been decreasing in a systemic way for the last 200 years. Is it possible that the human body, in areas where there is advanced technology, where we can go inside and we can have fluorescent light bulbs and LED bulbs and low E glass, as we get less and less of this beneficial infrared light, could it be putting our bodies into a state of reduced antioxidants and increased oxidative stress so that
that is very far-fetched.
when we are exposed to medicines like acetaminophen, which can exacerbate mildly that balance, could that be causing and increasing the risk of autism? We've known now since 2003 that the amount of time that is out of the home has been steadily decreasing. And during the COVID pandemic, there was a very large drop, understandably, in time outside the home. But then we learned behaviors, for instance, by having food delivered to our homes or using Amazon to have things delivered. And we have not recovered from that. We have not gone back up to even where we would have been before if that trend had continued. But there is also other data. This is a paper that was published in 2019 titled Birth Seasonality and Risk of Autism Spectrum Disorder, which clearly shows that there was an increased risk of autism in those offspring that were born in the fall, i.e. they had conceived in the wintertime, and lowest for those spring births which were conceived in the summertime, indicating that once again, sunlight.
A better explanation for this is people get drunk as fuck during the holidays. So they end up having Christmas parties, work parties, get-togethers with family. Start eating like shit and drinking alcohol. And then they end up conceiving when they start fucking on alcohol.
Nigger Trump could cure cancer and make she who shall not be named get in shape, and he who shall not be named grow hair and cure heart disease and all chronic disease on the planet, and you'd still insist on getting chronic illness. You just hate Trump.
Well, that's great. Thanks for the donation, 21st. Yeah, so these people are probably eating like shit and drinking, and then having drunk party sex on New Year's, and then they probably don't realize they've conceived, still drink some alcohol and shit, and then that could be an explanation. Like, this is a little silly.
Light early in pregnancy may be a factor, and it may be a factor because it is improving the oxidative balance, not only in the mother, but also in the fetus, which is exposed to that infrared radiation. Here's another study looking at autism prevalence in the United States with respect to solar UVB doses, and it showed an inverse relationship between the amount of solar UVB radiation and the incidence of autism. Here's another paper published in 2017 titled A Review of Prevalence Studies of Autism Spectrum Disorder by Latitude and Solar Irradiance Impact. And in this report, they reviewed 25 studies that were published between 2011 and 2016 using comparable diagnostic criteria. And the results suggested a tendency for the prevalence rates of autism spectrum disorder to be lowest in countries near the equator, and for this rate to increase as latitude increases as you go toward the poles. These findings provide some support, not just for the vitamin D hypothesis, but notice what they say here, but also for a new proposition that along with UVB radiation, the entire solar radiation spectrum, which reaches the Earth, may play a role in autism spectrum disorder. While these results are both novel and encouraging in terms of the potential efficacy of exposure to natural sunlight, further research is warranted before results can be considered definitive, and before the implications of the findings can be implemented clinically.
That is such insane speculation.
There's also a report of research that 1 in 16 Somali children that moved from Somalia to the state of Minnesota are now being diagnosed with autism. So let me tell you that I believe that there is ample evidence to look at further research. And I would
Yeah, do you think that might have something to do with them being, like, inbred or something?
use this platform to specifically ask the President of the United States and those in charge of healthcare to make sure that this line of reasoning is being looked at. The amount of sunlight that we are being exposed to on a regular basis is whittling away. The amount of infrared light that we are exposed to is also very small. I would also particularly add that there is a new rule in the Department.
Dude, I have no fucking idea about Lusovorin. I don't know. Fuck would I know about that? Tylenol usage is correlated with autism, but not when comparing differentially exposed siblings. Correlation analysis, causal analysis, sibling comparison. Compared to mothers who don't take acetaminophen during pregnancy, the risk of autism is higher for those who do. However, this relationship is entirely due to familial confounding. When just one sibling receives acetaminophen, they're no more likely to be autistic. So yeah, I think that puts to rest, the idea. So basically, women with health issues are more likely to have kids with autism. And the Tylenol is only correlated because it's just an environmental, correlation. So people with health problems more likely to take Tylenol, but it's not the Tylenol that's causing the autism, it's the health issues. Yeah. Not a big surprise there.
Fritz.
Dodo Donate Tellers, I thought they were against seed oils, but now chips are healthy. Fully transition away from synthetic dyes by the end of 2027, urge other food companies. So fucking stupid.
We are continuing to investigate a multiplicity of potential causes with no areas of taboo. One area that we are closely examining, as the president mentioned, is vaccines. Some 40 to 70% of mothers who have children with autism believe that their child was injured by a vaccine. President Trump believes that we should be listening to these mothers instead of gaslighting and marginalizing them like prior administrations. Some of our friends like to say,
dude, he's having a harder time talking.
We should believe all women. Some of these same people have been silencing and demonizing these mothers for 3 decades because research on the potential link between autism and vaccines has been actively suppressed in the past. It will take time for an honest look at this topic.
Oh, great. That reminds me, I gotta ask my pharmacy if they have the flu shot.
We are being told this by 3 sources that an indictment of Comey is expected in the coming days. They're also saying that this same office is expected to charge Tish James, the New York Attorney General, with mortgage fraud. And of course, Donald Trump, we all saw it posted on Truth Social in recent days, exhorting his Attorney General to charge both of those people as soon as possible. Again, this is, grand juries are secret. This is a fluid situation. It's also important to know, though, that the U.S. attorney, the Trump-appointed U.S. attorney in this office, Eric Siebert, was essentially forced out last week, in part because he was refusing to bring these cases. We're told that he was opposed to prosecuting both James and Comey on these grounds, and he's out now. And the new U.S. attorney is a former Donald Trump defense lawyer who's never prosecuted a case.
Yeah, well, we know exactly what's going on there. Destroy Yemen.
Yo, no there.
Well, Yemen does suck. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
What would happen, VG, if Islam took over the world?
Well, there'd be a hell of a lot more whorehouses. And I guess gay people would be beheaded. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
But also, anyone who knew about the real shooter's plans and didn't report it or try to prevent it in any way. Despite being seemingly completely exonerated, Sky also took to Instagram. "I am not the shooter nor a current alumni at UVU. I had a dream back in March of this year when I recorded and debuted this song on SoundCloud. It's complicated and cheesy, but I did foresee the death of Charlie Kirk this year. However, not at a conference and not by the hand of a gun. I've never been a fan of Charlie Kirk, mostly because I live under the LGBTQ+ umbrella and disagree with everything he says. Then again, I hate all politicians and politics because it's such a wildfire of a situation already. I do not support the shooting in any way, but I am relieved that a Nazi sympathizer is no longer wasting my oxygen." Unsurprisingly, that second half did very little to quell suspicions about potential foreknowledge. So people kept digging, and eventually they found a second Instagram account that belonged to Sky called letters_2_bishop. This account had a post with a picture of another band, presumably also in Utah, where one of the members bore a striking resemblance to the aforementioned Omar Najera. This led some people to speculate that they were bandmates, but as per God's Finest bio before Charlie Kirk's death, it was a band of one. There was one last person who was similarly picked up by Twitter as potentially having foreknowledge because just a day prior to the incident, they had said, "September 10th will be a very interesting day." While this tweet got tens of millions of views, they continued to be active on Twitter and showed proof that they very frequently made this kind of tweet. So sooner or later, this kind of coincidence would happen by sheer volume. Now, we are going to revisit the topic of people potentially having foreknowledge of the assassination, but at this point, as it stood, it was confirmed that none of these people were the killer, begging the question, who was actually behind the assassination? A whole day and a half after the shooting, on the evening of the 11th, the pictures of the killer in a cap and dark glasses were released. One of Tyler's friends, who was in the same Discord server with about 18 other people, sent the
Dodo donate killers, then how can organizations like Queers for Palestine be dumb enough to support them? I don't know, man. They're just retarded. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
picture to their chat, jokingly remarking that it looked like Tyler and asking him where he was at. Tyler responded saying that his doppelganger did it, to which someone else sarcastically replied, "Tyler killed Charlie." Clearly, the mere concept of Tyler doing such a thing was something his acquaintances wouldn't even consider. He was a seemingly intelligent guy, as his mother proudly bragged on Facebook about his 4.0 GPA. He was a mild-mannered indoorsman who gamed a lot, and although he wasn't a Republican like the rest of his family, he also wasn't even registered to vote and didn't express his opinions that much. Because of this, the rest of his server continued to joke about turning him in to collect the $100,000 bounty on the killer, which was eventually raised to $1.2 million, or they made recommendations that Tyler not go to a McDonald's anytime soon, referencing the notorious case of Luigi Mangione, who was caught on CCTV when he stopped to get something to eat. Tyler even contributed some jokes about himself, saying he should get rid of this manifesto and exact copy rifle I have lying around. Over a few messages, he said, "I heard the ammo had something about trans stuff on it, but they aren't releasing photos or exact quotes. And also, the claim wasn't backed by the official FBI, just some dude in the briefing room. I am actually Charlie Kirk. Wanted to get out of politics, so I faked my death. Now I can live out my dream life in Kansas." Now, there is some justified debate as to whether the other people in this Discord knew the full extent of Tyler's intents and actions before, during, or after the murder of Charlie Kirk. Partly, it's because these messages were provided voluntarily by one of Tyler's friends, meaning they could have either been tailored by this friend in such a way to exclude anything that would incriminate any other members of the server, or it could mean that due to this friend's forthcoming cooperation with law enforcement, he was given a degree of privilege or protection. While it's highly likely that at least one member of this Discord was aware of Tyler's crimes, it's also likely that multiple, if not the majority of the members had no idea. And some of them even expressed grief over the assassination, remarking that Charlie didn't deserve it. Regardless, Tyler definitely seemed intent on keeping people under the impression that he was innocent, and this included his family. For nearly 2 whole days, he kept his family in the dark, and he probably would have strung them along for longer if he could. But on the evening of the 11th, Tyler's father, Matt, saw the pictures of the killer on the news. To his unimaginable shock, he saw his son being reported about on national television for having murdered Charlie Kirk. Despite his utter shock and disbelief, Matt went to his son and simply asked him, "Tyler, is this you? This looks like you." Tyler immediately confessed. But when urged to turn himself in, he responded, "I would rather take my own life than turn myself in." Matt promptly contacted their local Mormon bishop, Scott Messinger, and asked him what he should do, who said that despite the risk of Tyler ending up getting the death penalty, they had to turn him in, which his father did, while also refusing to accept the reward money from the FBI, knowing that his fate had been sealed.
Dude, what a dumbass. He didn't take $1.2 million? Oh my god, what a fucking idiot. That guy is so fucking stupid.
Tyler felt the urge to come clean to his friends on Discord. "Hey guys, I
Holy
have bad news
shit.
for you all. It was me at UVU yesterday. I'm sorry for all of this. I'm surrendering through a sheriff in a few moments. Thank you for all the good times and laughs. You've all been so amazing. Thank you all for everything." There was no immediate response, and only much later, one of the members sent a message asking that the others pray for Tyler. At 11 p.m. that day, the cops came and arrested him, though what was supposed to give the public some relief ended up just raising even more questions. However controversial this was initially, establishing Tyler's motive was the easiest part. The casing clearly antagonized Kirk as a fascist. His family remarked that he had recently expressed that Charlie Kirk was full of hate, and his growing left-wing sentiment coincided with his distancing from his family's Mormon religious practices. The fact that he committed the crime was also an easy task to prove, as they forensically recovered a note that he had written and attempted to dispose of, wherein he said, "I have the opportunity to take out Charlie Kirk, and I'm going to take it." On one of his devices, they also found communications with a roommate, not named in the affidavit, about needing to retrieve his rifle. This leads me to think that he acknowledged he'd made a mistake in leaving his weapon behind and wanted to go back to get it. But he took too long, and law enforcement got to it first. With the weapon and the towel it was wrapped up in, they found DNA that was a match for Tyler's. As far as the crime itself, it looked pretty open and shut. That is, until further consideration was given to other people being potentially involved in the lead-up. You see, soon after his capture, Tyler went completely silent and has refused to cooperate with the police, which led the public to discovering en masse that a
Are we... Are we back now? Okay, we're back. Alright, I have no idea what that was. Alright, at least we're back.
To speak with the media, and some pretty interesting things were said when the topic came up, and the neighbor claims to have witnessed them together.
Were they holding hands? Yeah, they were. So, yeah, they drove off in his car, the Dodge Challenger.
And so they look like they were a couple?
Yeah. Yeah.
There's some published reports out there that this individual, the roommate, may have been transitioning. Did that correlate with what you saw?
Yeah, definitely. I remember them talking about a doctor's appointment. It was about 2 weeks ago, I would say.
And they were kissing?
Yeah.
Do you know, where did you see them kissing?
Just coming out.
While there was some initial pushback to the narrative that Tyler was in a relationship with this roommate of his, this testimony from his neighbor went a long way to solidify this in the public sphere. An unknown source in law enforcement had already attested to the same story, and with this much scrutiny and attention on something, keeping this person's name a secret was basically impossible. Eventually, people found Tyler's Venmo account, where one name stood out: Lance Twiggs, who frequently received money from his mother for prescriptions and doctor's appointments, fitting what the neighbor had told the media. On Saturday, September 13th, the Daily Mail published an article identifying this transgender roommate and romantic partner of Tyler Robinson, with the person listed in the affidavit as a cooperator with law enforcement. In it, Lance's TikTok account, Cookies and Cream, was attached, but most of that account's posts consisted of gaming clips. It turns out this account was apparently shared with someone named Quinn, or Youngest Kami on Twitch, who didn't have any relation to Tyler. In turn, this led people to consider that this may not be Lance's main account. By simply checking the follows on it, you can find Lance's actual account, Lancelotl, although nothing related to Tyler can be found here, mostly because the majority of the posts come from long before Lance would have been his roommate. As this news grew to national proportions, relatives of Lance's began to speak out, claiming that Tyler and Lance hated conservatives and Christians. Going on to say, "I think Tyler got a whole lot worse in the year they have been dating. They are big gamers, and obviously they have that group that influences them as well as others." Lance disclosed that he had a boyfriend, not to me directly. He wanted to have lunch with other family members to introduce his boyfriend. I was afraid he might hurt someone. Lance is not a healthy person. He's very angry with anyone who is supportive of conservative ideals and Christian values. As far as I know, he was not going by another name. I just know he was in the process of transitioning. I know he was trying to take different medications. Now, I should note that I'm exclusively going off of what's on the news, as misinformation related to this aspect of the story peaked on Twitter. But based on a collection of testimonies from multiple, and mostly anonymous, relatives who were spoken to by the media, both Tyler and Lance were black sheep of their families to different degrees. Tyler was mostly described as resigned from any social activity, being a big gamer since a very young age in a way that is almost disarmingly relatable. He wanted to develop games. His friends described him as fun to be around, despite being shy and quiet. Lance, on the other hand, was seemingly more outspoken and angry about his views, which was described by a relative, which signals a greater degree of comfort expressing them. This also fits their online presence, as Tyler had seemingly no significant public profiles, while Lance had multiple. This includes the aforementioned TikTok, a now privated Instagram account, and possibly the most revealing one out of all of them, a Reddit account. Before I get into the actual contents of Lance's Reddit, it's important to note that due to the lack of information up until this point, a lot of people resorted to creating imagined.
Got a biopsy today. Biopsy of what?
Versions of this person that were convenient to their preconceptions. Some people were prone to immediately and completely exonerate Lance due to his cooperation with law enforcement. Others leaned toward the narrative that he was at least complicit, if not actively pushing or pressuring Tyler to do what he did. Unsurprisingly, neither of these assumptions were exactly true. His Reddit history goes back over half a decade, and up until 2024, there are several patterns we can pick up on. For example, very early on, around 2019, you can find references to jokes about killing furries, criticisms to J.K. Rowling for making Harry Potter characters gay, and even positive comments on campaigns like "it's okay to be white," as well as criticisms of how black people were socially allowed to exclude white people from their spaces, but not the other way around. Clearly, in 2019, Lance wasn't what you'd call a staunch left-winger, to say the least. But something changed in 2020. Before, Lance often made positive posts relating to other Reddit users over his intent of getting his video game addiction under control, wanting to start lifting weights again, get good grades, and find a girlfriend. After 2020, one of the first significant posts on his account is him arguing with other people over transgenderism. Specifically, Lance can be seen calling his old self transphobic and claiming that children should be allowed to transition. It also seems he began exploring existentialist philosophy, taking an interest in Nietzsche and Stoicism as they related to managing suffering and negative/painful situations that you wish to be out of. By 2022, he was already posting to subreddits like femboy_IRL and r/196. Both of which are well known for their predominantly trans user base. This isn't to say he was a conventional left-winger though, as multiple posts signaled that he was sufficiently far left, and that he no longer believed in political parties altogether, claiming that all they were after was money. Another interesting sign here is his continued investment not only in video games, but also in websites like 4chan, and more specifically, the R9K board. If you want a slightly deeper dive into what goes on R9K, you can watch my video about Reiko's femboy cult, but to make a long story short, it's infamous for being full of rabid incels, transgender people, and combinations of the two, all of whom are bonding over feeling socially excluded or otherwise dysfunctional. If you've been listening to what I've been saying, then I think you're starting to get the idea. All of this automatically put Lance squarely outside of the regular political spectrum, and although he was clearly left-wing, he definitely felt ambivalent about a lot of issues. For example, in one instance, he actually made fun of people who got upset that the creator of Five Nights at Freddy's, Scott Cawthon, had donated to Republican politics politicians, and complained about incessant Russia versus Ukraine discussions creeping into the subreddits he frequented. At a surface level, Lance wasn't an extremely rigorous left-winger. He posted on the Jordan Peterson subreddit criticizing echo chambers and expressing his distaste for how much of the sub had been overtaken with political discussions, while also specifying that Jordan had been pivotal to his personal growth, complimenting his 12 Rules for Life book and defending him from detractors. Another expression of his lack of political rigor is that while he posted a lot on a joke sub,
This is pretty typical. All these shooters don't really have any clear political affiliation.
Called Love for Landlords, which sarcastically praises landlords while depicting them as the most cruel and greedy capitalists imaginable, he also posted to r/no-working, which parodied the infamous leftist sub r/anti-work. But make no mistake, in spite of his overall lax attitude towards politics, there were some things he took more seriously, and he only grew to take them more seriously as time went on. First off, he unsurprisingly had a more concerned approach when it came to gender ideology, condemning misgendering, and even raising an issue with how the left
just got here. Please explain what we've been watching in detail for the last hour. Thank you. Go Dodgers. Let's go Dodgers. Clap, 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 clap.
I don't think I'll be doing that, but thanks for the donation, retard.
commodified the trans rights cause. Oddly enough, his post about it is on the r/anarcho-capitalism subreddit, although it doesn't seem like Lance has any other activity associated with libertarianism, besides a few passing comments on the legalization of drugs. Before he had any cohesive political beliefs, from a young age, Lance struggled with substance abuse. While he took an interest in subreddits like r/shrooms and r/acid, it's his post on r/alcoholism that is the most revealing out of all of them. In a reply to someone talking about how alcohol can cause blackouts, he wrote, "I appreciate the resources. I'll definitely read through the Alcohol Explained book. The blackout piece
just got my labs back. Testosterone levels for the years I've checked, 2022, 665, 2023, 677, and most current one 585. I haven't been exercising for this year, and working too much day 10 in a row. I don't drink alcohol, and probably drink too much caffeine."
Well, that might explain the decrease. Like, I mean, it's entirely up to you if you want to go on testosterone. Even if you're not working out and training, I think you just feel so much better. It's at least worth it to me, but you know, your test is in the normal range. If you feel fine, you know, then whatever. But thanks for the donation though, Alan.
piece was solid. I don't think about choking. I am so glad I can't fall asleep on my back. It kinda saved me there. Lol. I kinda feel like it's too late on the addiction part, because I did a ton of weed earlier in my teens, and I can tell it messed with my energy and attention levels. And I mean this in no edgy or depressing way, but I don't really see myself making it past about 25 at this rate, so I'm not too worried about the long-term effects. I think I'll wait until legal age at least to try any alcohol again though. While this is quite revealing on its own, with Lance expressing a certain degree of hopelessness about his own life expectancy, it gets more interesting when you check the other comments on this thread and notice he's replying to all of them. Based on this, despite the original thread now being deleted and having its contents, as well as who created it, hidden, the Wayback Machine reveals what was originally there. In the thread's body, Lance, who would be 19 or 18 at the time this thread was made, tells a story in which Lance drank anywhere from half to a whole bottle of 40% vodka in 2 hours, while simultaneously being high, blacked out.
How in the fuck do you even survive that? That sounds like a lethal dose.
And waking up with vomit everywhere. Clearly, there was something wrong with him. And other posts also have him talking about suffering from bulimia. Although there are some associations between eating disorders and substance abuse, and also with both of those things and gender dysphoria, what's important to focus on here is how it all contributes to his aforementioned hopelessness. The idea that he'll be dying soon no matter what. Based on other posts of his, Lance identified himself and his friends as abandoning religious beliefs, and even described a situation in in which his family basically disowned him relating to it. While this matches the testimony of one of Lance's relatives, it doesn't tell the full story, as he continued to live with his family for a good while after. Even after he moved out to be roommates with Tyler, the Venmo shows he continued to get money sent to him by his parents, and it's quite likely they helped them with their housing, since the place they shared cost $1,800 a month. And as far as is publicly known, neither of them had very good jobs to afford that kind of place. Even if they had issues with them, both Lance and Tyler appeared to receive continuous support from their families despite their lifestyle. While there has been a lot of conflicting information about this, Lance was indeed undergoing a transition, at least as of a year ago, as he could be seen talking about the effects of HRT on r/trans DIY about a year ago. Soon after that, about 10 months ago as of me writing this, he already mentioned having a boyfriend, which coincides with the reports he was in a relationship with Tyler. There's one last bit of info that I think is worth correcting. There's been some speculation that Lance's Instagram bio having the word fish finder is some kind of coded message about grooming minors into becoming trans. While that is a very real phenomenon, with the likes of Giggly Goon Clown being obsessed with doing exactly that, in this case, it's incorrect. Not only is Lance on the record years ago talking about how much he liked going fishing, but he also has some posts criticizing online trans communities for calling other people eggs, which basically means they're trans but haven't discovered themselves yet. With all of this established, and paired with testimonies from their relatives, there was nothing particularly unusual about their upbringing. This extremely sad and dark picture from Tyler's mom's Facebook shows him in 2013 playing a game on his computer. Lance is no different, although instead of performing really well academically, like Tyler, Lance actually seemed more socially well-adjusted and artistically inclined.
My name is Lance Tweeds. I am playing country concerto for young pianists, and I like piano because it gives me something other than playing video games to do with my fingers.
But from 2019 to 2024, both of them slowly moved from somewhat apolitical to left-wing, with a large emphasis on the topic of trans rights. While Lance's was well documented through his own Reddit, Tyler's was quieter. But there, nonetheless, a former
Greg Donatello's dude, Abduls are so weird, man, lol.
Kind of agreed with like 90% of the stuff you said. 90%? Okay. Would you consider yourself a Zionist? I know a lot of Indians are. I think Israel should have its own state. It's what? Israel should have its own state for like Israel, like Jews. Jews should have their own country. You think so? Yeah. They've not been doing a good. They've had their own country since 1948. They've been doing a terrible job. They've been doing a really bad job since then. Is it though? I mean, like.
What the fuck does he even mean by that? Like, this is the most politically unaware guy on the fucking planet, and he's saying this.
Israel is the only country with Western values that has a birth rate above 2.1. What are Western values? Gay pride parades? That's what Israel is. I mean...
I don't know, maybe democracy, human rights...
So what are Western values? Like they say this all the time. Israel's the most Western place in the Middle East, and then Israel Times says Tel Aviv is the gayest city in the world. Israel Times said this. Israel Times.
Like, this is the only thing he has to complain about. Okay. Fuck Nico. Moment Indian guy has a pro-Israel argument, they call him names like street shitter and Pajit, but when it's a white or black guy, they cry. Victim, lol, peep the comments. Oh. Who really fucking cares? Who cares? Thanks for the donation, Greg.
Lot a lethal dose. I used to polish off fifths consistently. Only noticeable side effect has been becoming retarded and terrible short-term memory. Like awful. Neurological effects take a sideline to liver in education. Alcohol FN sucks.
Yeah, alcohol does damage and shrink the brain. It's literally poison. So, yeah. Again, government's fine with you literally destroying your brain and body with alcohol. But if you want to get big and strong, that's a no-no for steroids. Thanks for the donation, though, little cream squirt.
A former classmate of his described him as being a Reddit kid. Seemingly, just like something happened in 2020, a similar effect took place in 2024 when Lance and Tyler moved in together, and their families started to notice both of them feeding off of each other and becoming more politically inclined. For a few days after the assassination, the exact dynamic between them was unknown, but just a few days ago, their final Discord messages to one another were released, and they read as follows. Tyler, drop what you are doing. Look under my keyboard. Lance, what? You're joking, right? Here, Tyler is referencing the note I had mentioned earlier that had been destroyed and was recovered, where he declared he was going to take Charlie's life. Their conversation continued. Tyler, I'm still okay, my love, but am stuck in Orem for a little while longer yet. Shouldn't be long until I can come home, but I gotta grab my rifle still. To be honest, I had hoped to keep this a secret till I died of old age. I am sorry to involve you. Lance, you weren't the one who did it, right? Tyler, I'm sorry. Lance, I thought they caught the person. Tyler, no, they grabbed some crazy old dude, then interrogated someone in similar clothing. I had planned to grab my rifle from my drop point shortly after, but most of that side of town got locked down. It's quiet. Almost quiet enough to get out. But there's one vehicle lingering. Lance, why? Tyler, why did I do it? Lance, yeah. And Tyler responds with the following diatribe. I had enough of his hatred. Some hate can't be negotiated out. If I am able to grab my rifle unseen, I will have left no evidence. Going to attempt to retrieve it again. Hopefully they have moved on. I haven't seen anything about them finding it. Lance, how long have you been planning this? Tyler, a bit over a week, I believe. I can get close to it, but there is a squad car parked right by it. I think they already swept that spot, but I don't want to chance it. I'm wishing I had circled back and grabbed it as soon as I got to my vehicle. I'm worried what my old man would do if I didn't bring back Grandpa's rifle. I don't even know if it had a serial number, but it wouldn't trace to me. I worry about prints. I had to leave it in a bush where I changed outfits. Didn't have the ability or time to bring it with. I might have to abandon it and hope they don't find prints. How will I explain losing it to my old man? Only thing I left was the rifle wrapped in a towel. Remember how I was engraving bullets? The messages are mostly a big meme. If I see notices bulge ooh-woo on Fox News, I might have a stroke. Alright, I'm gonna have to leave it. That really sucks. Judging from today, I'd say Grandpa's gun does just fine. I don't know. I think that was a $2,000 scope. Delete this exchange. My dad wants photos of the rifle. He says Grandpa wants to know who has what. The feds released a photo of the rifle, and it is very unique. He's calling me right now, not answering. Since Trump got into office, he has been pretty diehard MAGA. I'm gonna turn myself in willingly. One of my neighbors here is a deputy for the sheriff. You are all I worry about, love. Lance, I'm much more worried about you. Tyler, don't talk to the media, please. Don't take any interviews or make any comments. If any police ask you questions, ask for a lawyer and stay silent. While Lance did follow Tyler's wishes on the first request, he didn't on the second, as he did cooperate with law enforcement extensively as per the affidavit. Now, if you're wondering about the visuals for the messages on screen, those are not the actual screenshots, but instead depictions of what the messages would look like. However, the contents of the messages are genuine. It's technically possible that Lance and Tyler coordinated this exchange beforehand to exonerate Lance of any cooperation, given the pretty performative nature of some of Tyler's messages especially. Given they did live together and shared political views, it's not impossible. But at the same time, it's also possible that, indeed, Tyler concocted and carried this plan out on his own. Given Lance was more expressive and even-minded, while Tyler was much harder to read even by his close friends, it could be that the latter was a ticking time bomb, and his political beliefs about Charlie Kirk, paired with his attachment to Lance, who was trans, were enough to set him off. As it currently stands, Tyler is potentially facing the death penalty, and Lance is nowhere to be seen or heard from. For many people, this was case closed, but other people have pitched the possibility that even if Lance had no foreknowledge, it doesn't mean other people couldn't have. Beyond those I've mentioned earlier in the video, there were a few other suspicious details surrounding the whole incident. For example, a neighbor of theirs claimed that 2 weeks prior to the attack, several people driving cars with out-of-state plates were seen going in and out. Additionally, there were a couple of Change.org petitions by locals who were vehemently opposed to Charlie Kirk speaking at the university. University, and some of the comments got pretty questionable. Besides the name-calling and political accusations, there were some comments like, "No tolerance for Nazis like Kirk. Stop the speaking or someone else will." Of course, this could just be someone making a baseless threat due to how they felt about Charlie, but it goes deeper. A day prior to the assassination, a now-deleted TikTok account called Definitely Not Jackson made a post with the captions, "Charles James Kirk, Mr. College Dropout, does not know what's coming tomorrow. Be ready. This isn't a threat. It's a promise. It's a bad day to be Charlie tomorrow. Hashtag UVU." Again, this could just be a reference to the debate itself as some illusion that Charlie will get owned or something in the marketplace of ideas. But there's also more. 5 days prior to the shooting, a Twitter user named Fuyoshi Incel said, "You guys, I have something big coming soon. Just be sure to check the news. You'll know it when you see it. Winky emoji face." And within a few hours of the assassination, he came back to say, "Well, that's that. Another chud bites the dust." This account currently appears to be completely gone. Lastly, a TikTok and Twitter user who followed Lance Twiggs by the name of Churbum75M, as soon as the attack took place, tweeted out, "We did it." Adding insult to injury, he followed it up with, "Charlie Kirk deserved that. Let it die." On his TikTok, he set his account to the picture of the moment Kirk was shot, along with a lot of other vile posts about it. By merely searching up his handle on Twitter, it's easy to find that just days prior, he was in hot water for insincerely apologizing for making offensive jokes in a Discord server. With all of those elements put together, this matched the profile of unconventional leftists that would be expected. Churbum eventually shared conversations he'd had with a friend of his, where his friend is saying, "We aren't even old enough to hold a gun without a weapon charge." But of course, at this point, the concern wasn't that anyone besides Tyler actually did it, but instead that other people knew that he would before.
It's over
90009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900090009000900h09000900h08n
Appreciate it.
beforehand. He eventually made a tweet claiming that it was all a misunderstanding and he was just an immature teenager scared for his life. Despite tweeting out many times afterwards asking to be left alone and saying that joking about people dying is wrong, Churbum continued to make light of what happened, leading many people to be suspicious. Whatever the case is with any of these specific accounts, people are innocent until proven guilty, and I'm not making this video to endorse doxing anyone because of what they post on Twitter. If there is genuine suspicion, it should be handled by the authorities. And on the 16th of September, nearly a week after the incident, it was announced by the FBI that there were a lot more than 20 people in Tyler's Discord chat, and that all of them were now under FBI investigation. Another interesting claim is that there was a broad network of groups with intel on Kirk's assassination and the subsequent announcement of investigation of NGOs, although what exactly this means has yet to be seen. What it could be related to is the recent discovery related to the Utah-based group Armed Queers SLC. Founded in 2020, Armed Queers identified itself as a revolutionary LGBTQ organization, whose principles included the end of capitalist oppression and trans liberation. At face value, it looks like nothing out of the ordinary for this kind of collective, but it was discovered that this group was founded and led by a certain Ermia Fanayan, who had won an award from the Utah Council for Citizens Diplomacy in 2022, was once listed by the Utah Global Diplomacy NGO as a young diplomat of Utah, and was listed as being on the payroll of the Utah State Democratic Committee. The scope of this kind of thing is unassumingly huge, as Ermia was a speaker at a UN-affiliated event, and the Utah Global Diplomacy received most of its income directly from government grants. As early as 2019, Ermia can be seen on stage alongside people like Elizabeth Warren. 4 years later, in January 2023, Armed Queers made now-deleted posts about work.
So I was right about all this. There literally is communist infiltration into the Democratic Party. So yeah. They really are infested with like crazy communists.
Working with the Elm.
Sing this Indian song.
All right, I'll do that for you. Thanks for the donation, RV. This is 5 minutes. I don't think I'll do the full 5 minutes. Oh my god. Let your breath seep into my breath. La la la. Let your breath seep into my breath. Let the gentle heartbeat go a little fast. The moments are requesting that we should come closer. Me and you. Me and you. Let me come into your eyes a little. Let me melt into your arms a little. The moments are requesting that we should come closer. Me and you. Me and you. Let your breath seep into my breath. Oh my god. Creases here, turns there. Even your coal will spread. Passing in our eyes will be a caravan of dreams. Let our bodies and souls burn a little. Let our modesty stray a little. The moments are requesting that we should come closer. Me and you. You. Me and you. Let your breath seep into my breath. Okay, I think I get the idea here. Thanks for the donation, though, RV.
Fork John Brown Gun Club. 2 years after that, just 2 months ago, on the 14th of July, 10 to 12 members of this gun club gathered near an ICE detention center, setting off fireworks and vandalizing vehicles with phrases like ice pig and traitor in an attempt to draw out officers. They then proceeded to open fire on several unarmed officers nearby, succeeding in killing none of them, but they did injure one officer in the neck. Immediately after, all of them were arrested and had their property seized. Multiple of the people arrested had prior criminal histories of similar crimes. Of course, everything I'm saying here is circumstantial, but still, it seems to be enough that the FBI is currently investigating Ermaya about her potentially having some relation, not just to the assassination of Charlie Kirk, but also to any other similar crimes that have occurred recently. Ultimately, it's impossible to know just how much sprawl this kind of thing has, but considering how massive organizations and cults like the Zizians or 764 have gotten, it's best to sort this out as early as possible, before any other crimes can take place. Whatever the case may be, it's an absolute tragedy that Charlie Kirk lost his life. To a lesser degree, it's also a tragedy that people like Tyler got to the point of committing such a crime. Hopefully, nothing of this kind ever happens again. I've been Turkey Tom. Thanks for watching.
Well, that is retarded. Catnip donate tellers, yeah, when it came to religion in particular, Charlie was deaf and narcissist. Of course it was fucked what happened to him, but dude didn't know shit about other religions and coped when he heard valid points.
Charlie Kirk schools liberal students' Buddhism defense with epic moral smackdown.
I just don't see how we could argue that Christianity is the great moral authority that you're saying it is for making these laws when they've done a lot of horrible things.
What moral code do you live by?
I'm a Buddhist.
So it's all about yourself.
No, it's just about being, well, I guess you could say that. But
I know,
think
yeah,
it's
I know Buddhism. So let's
don't
play it
think-
out. What is the top accomplishment of a Buddhist?
I guess just to be a good person and...
No, to reach nirvana, you know that. And so it's all about yourself, all inward looking, right? To try to live.
I don't know how that's a bad thing. Like, yeah, I mean, do you think people who reach nirvana are, like, killing and raping people or starting wars? So, yeah, I think if people focused on their own personal development rather than trying to start shit with other people, the world would probably be a better place.
Limit your touch with the outside world, that the outside world is dirty.
That's not how I was taught.
Oh no, that's
you're
what
not
Buddhism.
A Buddhist.
No, I.
Charlie Kirk's just a fucking faggot. Thanks for the donation, Catnip. Fucking dork.
Testosterone for endurance athletes, not too high dose to fuck with these blood pressure. And if they can't be on it the whole year, how long will the cycles be? How low of a dose should I take to mitigate down regulation? Okay, so you'll always get down regulation if you take exogenous testosterone. I recommend endurance athletes to take anywhere between 125 to 150 milligrams per week, which I mentioned in the MMA jerk stack video, which is also applicable for endurance athletes. So give that one a watch. People ask me, what would you, can you make a specific one for cycling? I said, hire me for a consultation because the only thing you need to add in is EPO. So that's the link down below. Let's see. So yeah, if you keep your dosage moderate, then I don't think it's going to fuck with your blood pressure, and you're probably taking magnesium for cardiovascular endurance. So that helps to dilate your arteries and of course improve, skeletal muscle function as well. So I don't think your blood pressure is going to change in any way, shape, or form if you're an endurance athlete when you're already doing everything right. Now, if you're a fat piece of shit and you're 25% body fat or there above and you've been eating terribly, and that's why your testosterone levels are low and you go on 150 milligrams of testosterone, yes, you will get high blood pressure because that fat is literally compressing your blood vessels together, and then it has nowhere to expand to, and you're probably magnesium deficient as one of the root causes why you're testosterone deficient also. So I think athletes have nothing to worry about regarding their blood pressure, but a low and effective dose, just to the point you don't produce too much metabolic waste products, which you then have to mitigate with other over-the-counter supplements, right? Or megadosing baking soda or that kind of stuff. So I think 150 tests is more than enough to get the job done. Innovative. What is the detection time for growth hormone, Anavar, and how do you fix on sprinting? Growth hormone, I think, was 2 weeks, Anavar 3 weeks, and I would not run either for sprinting because Anavar will reduce your stamina, and growth hormone will add on body weight, so it will reduce your stamina. Look into ITTP. Milligrams methylene blue 3 times per week indefinitely. Not indefinitely, because from 10 milligrams onwards, if it's daily or multiple times per week, it might lower your hematocrit and red blood cell count. So keep track of that. And it depends if you're using erythropoietic compounds or not. So if you're not using a lot of erythropoietic compounds, like boldenone, anadrol, etc., then 10 milligrams methylene blue might already drop your hematocrit levels quite a bit. So keep that in mind. I think 3 milligrams methylene blue is sustainable, but over 10 milligrams, then yeah, you might have a reduction in hematocrit over time. Hematocrit, 54%, hemoglobin, 192, concerning. What is that? On the picomoles? I wish you guys would include the reference range and the concentration, man. Hemoglobin. But it doesn't matter how many times I say it.
I think it's like 52.
No grams per deciliter. What is it? Is it mmol? Nanomoles? Fuck, man. Google can't fucking figure it out. I don't even know what a 192 is, man. I don't know off the top of my head. 192. So I don't know. Both the concentration and the range. Concerning or not yet. Can't donate as I'm an Accutane. Phlebotomy is the only option to get rid of blood. What do I do? Thanks, Steve. Fasting, enalapril, telmisartan for 80 milligrams per day. Enalapril would be 5 milligrams to 10 milligrams per day. Telmisartan, 80 milligrams per day. You have to choose one of these options, not all at the same time. Fasting for 5 days. Enalapril, 5 to 10 milligrams per day. 40 to 80 milligrams telmisartan per day. 20 milligrams methylene blue per day. And then there's IP6 to bring your iron levels down. But
Emma donated $2. The country that's awash in guns is the country seeing gun violence on average twice a week. That's why I'm voting for Zoran to get guns off the streets. That's great. Don't care. That's some nice
Here we
rage
are,
bait.
another.
I want to touch on this because this is every bit as important. People with Parkinson's, they get dementia. And what's really neat, and I think it adds more power to my thoughts about how nicotine works as far as getting the stem cells to morph into neurons. Not only does nicotine also increase the dopamine output of the cells that are making the dopamine, so it's actually stimulating your own brain to make more dopamine out of the cells that make dopamine.
Positive.
Yes, so it's goosing them.
Yep.
But it also seems to prevent the dementia that comes from long-term Parkinson's. And it also prevents you from being resistant to the L-DOPA medicine that we're giving them.
This is the nicotine.
Yes.
Yeah, nicotine actually prevents Parkinson's.
Well, Roy, both of us know that physique display is only one small part of weight training and bodybuilding.
Yeah, that's so true.
I know yourself that you're just as interested in the fitness and the health part as you are in the physique part.
Very much so.
Well, we took a camera crew and a few of the lads from the gym, and we went down to the local pub, and we talked to some non-weight trainers about weight training and the reasons that we do it.
You start this bodybuild, you go in for it for the simple reason of keeping fit, or that you want to build a good body?
Well, I think everybody's got their own reasons.
I
I think everybody's got their own reasons, but I think basically behind everybody's thoughts when they first start bodybuilding is to just have improvement, physical improvement, and that's right down.
Dodo donate Tellers MLK Jr.
The first tremors of the movement were felt in March with a fiery speech by a 16-year-old student during a school ceremony.
Today I stand here with the dream of building a new Nepal, with a fire of hope and passion burning within me.
That guy talks really weird. Thanks for the donation, Dodo.
On the board, that is in terms of fitness, endurance, looks, the lot.
So it's not just a question of living longer and living healthier. Then there's a kind of sexual thing in it as well, is there not? That lady's going to fancy me more because I've got big rippling muscles. No.
You just heard it said that this is.
But I mean, look at this. I mean, this. How would you like to develop an arm like this? I mean, it doesn't say on the front of that you're going to live longer, live better. I mean, that's. I mean, it's all about bodies. It's not about living longer and being
I just
healthier.
said to Carl as we were winding up. The whole point of this session is perhaps the answer to that question. I would personally say no. There are some people who would like that sort of arm because they want to do it for their pure physique.
A lot of people don't realise that you can do weight training for a lot of things. You can do weight training to keep fit. You don't have to get very muscular. A lot of people think that
sorry, Phil, but any athlete who wants to progress uses weight to make him better.
Yeah, they do.
Because, I mean, you're a rugby player, I do sort of play squash and I do stunt work. And it helps me, it gives me confidence in knowing that I can hold on to things longer and gives me stamina, confidence in what I'm doing.
See, one thing that you must realise about these sort of people, they are one in a million. I would say that there isn't one person sitting here who does lift weights who could ever develop a body like that. We just simply haven't got the potential. And most of us realise this, and that sort of extreme development isn't really for us. We'd like to have a shapely body, sure, something that we find pleasant to look at, and we hope that everybody else finds pleasant to look at. And I'm convinced that a body with a reasonable development must be more attractive or sexy than the average sort of body you see walking around these days with a nice stomach on them.
Do you weight trainers really think that you are appealing to women? You've got sex appeal. You say you're doing it for yourselves, but I'm sure this isn't true. You're just trying to cover it up.
But do you think we're appealing?
No, not
Why
in the
not?
slightest.
Why? I want to ask.
Put it this way, I don't like to see a flabby man or a skinny man. I'd rather see just an ordinary, well-built
Okay, I want to say something. Can you see?
Yes, sure. That's a cool story.
Anybody that looks extraordinary around here?
Oh, put them swimming trunks on, they'd probably look extraordinary.
You want to?
Well, I mean, 1% of the time we're in swimming trunks.
Yeah, I've seen you, Carlo, at the swimming pool, actually, and everybody looks. I mean, it's
with
an immediate
admiration,
reaction.
surely.
Yeah. I mean, myself, I don't think, but I think, my God.
A lot of people have perhaps misguided ideas about bodybuilders. They imagine people spend a lot of time in gyms with peculiar-looking machines rather than just sets of weights. Having finished a set of exercises, they immediately lift up with a tape measure and ponce around in front of a mirror. Now, you may all laugh, and this may not happen, but it's what a lot of people believe goes on.
And they believe it's not publicised.
Maybe, and they believe that the sole end is simply to get a big body with large muscles.
All of us here are doing weight training to improve our bodies because we think a man should look like that, and therefore we're trying to be more manly.
Yeah, but the average man doesn't look like that.
I don't care what the average man looks like. The average man looks pathetic these days because the average man is sitting on his backside all day long, eating the wrong foods. You look at the average man when he worked out in the field. He doesn't look anything like the average man does
but he
today.
doesn't look
We look more like the average man who works in the field does, because we've got a little bit more muscle.
And I guarantee that 80% of bedrooms in this country has got a set of chest expanders at the bottom of the wardrobe or something, because everybody really wants to have a good physique, and but there's a latent desire in everyone, but they won't admit it. They won't admit it because they feel embarrassed.
Yeah, so I want to make a point is that we're not all sort of thickheads doing this. We're not all great slabs of meat that you chuck about the butcher shop, as it were. We try and improve ourselves. This is really what we're trying to get at, isn't it?
I can see little point in training in a gym with weights and doing nothing else solely to build a good body and solely for display. And I would like somebody to justify the expenditure of all that energy and all that time.
Well, there again, you've just named it, really. You said that other people they do some training for the rugby. Well, some people just like to do just weight training, and that's what they do.
Just but don't forget, weight training is a very personal occupation. You know, you don't do it for anyone else. You don't do it for any one thing. It's purely for yourself.
But for what end? Yeah, you say it's for yourself. For what end?
Well, that must be the ultimate end. Is for your own personal.
To look good and to be fit.
For your own personal thing, you know.
He's not trying to impress anybody.
It's because I really enjoy muscular exertion.
If you're frustrated with the everyday life, if you can go down there and lift a weight, I don't know if you've ever done it.
Yes.
But if you really lift it and you get your mind over that, and you're only concentrating on that one thing. Do you play squash?
No.
Well, if you play squash, it's the same thing. Your mind is just riveted on that thing, and you can get away from everyday life. And you meet fellas that have got the same interests, and it becomes a club.
There is another big reason for weightlifting, and that is the way of modern life. That people sit down all day, sedentary jobs. They sit at home watching television. We don't have much spare time, and if anybody can tell me a better way of keeping fit. With just 1 or 2 hours of training per week, and that is all that is required. 1 or 2 hours a week, and you can keep ultra fit. And I can't think of a better way of doing it.
Spare time. If you're going to devote a lot of time, I don't know how much time you have to devote, but
it's approximately 1 hour 3 times a week.
3 times a week.
3 hours.
But sometimes people, they're so, you know, if you do shift work and that touch, you know.
You're just making excuses.
Yeah,
if
you're
you
making
really
excuses.
wanted to do it, you'd
They
do
can
it.
find time to go down the pub, but they can't find time to just do a bit of exercise. Or they can find 3 hours time to watch television.
I'd rather sit in a pub and have a conversation, have a pint.
But you said earlier that 5 o'clock, I can be at Carlo's by about 20 past. I can spend about an hour there, perhaps 15 minutes for a shower, and by 7 o'clock, 7:15, I can go and do what you want to do. And what I do,
anyway, I'll go work after a workout, and you feel absolutely marvellous.
Yeah, and you can't tell me. Well, look, I'm not. Look, I mean, it's ridiculous. I don't.
Well, here we are back in the gym. Let's take a few moments to look around and see exactly the sort of thing that goes on. We've been talking a lot about strength, so let's see a bit of strength. Now, I know Dave here likes doing a few press-ups, so Dave, would you like to show us a few press-ups? That's 80 pounds he's got on his back there. Okay, Al, could you take the weights off? Let's see if 11 stone. If 11 stone makes any impression on him.
Not bad.
Very good. Thank you very much, Dave. Now, this is the sort of exercise that we do to promote fitness. By exercising the large muscle groups, the lungs have to work faster and you get breathless and you increase your endurance.
Dude, this old-ass equipment, oh my god, what a pain in the ass.
This is one of the main exercises we do to strengthen up the muscles of the lower back. Something that I think nearly everybody could do with. The other byproduct of this exercise is that it also increases your range of movement, your flexibility in your lower back.
Dude, some of these guys are, like, more jacked than some fitness YouTubers, like Jeremy Ether, that fucking pencil neck twit. Like, some of them are also even out-angling Jesse James West, and he, like, does this shit for a living, and these are just, like, fucking, you know, British dorks who just work some fucking shitty 9-to-5 day job and then come into the gym to train a few times a week.
Right, Paul. Do you think that that really does make you more flexible in your lower back?
Oh yeah, I think most certainly. Gives you a far greater range of movement.
Well, can you step down a minute and let's just see for ourselves. Can you touch your toes?
Sure, yeah.
Very good. How far exactly can you get down?
Well, you can go behind the heels, root back to the hands, a nice loose pace, or cross your hands in front. Or we can do the other suppling movement, which gives you a far greater.
Dodo, donators react to Frank's new live stream in shorts. Okay, we can do that. Why the fuck?
I was botched by the most famous celebrity eye surgeon, Dr.
Why does he just make the same video over and over again?
Tufano, and for the past 2 years, I've had over 10 procedures, and I've spoken to every single top eye surgeon in the United States, and not one of them can or want to help me at this point. I've spent all my money, all my savings from my business. Every aspect of my life has been completely ruined, and that's partially due to these people.
How come it seems like British people have a better vocabulary than Americans? Do they just care more about sounding more sophisticated or something? Like, just look at people like Christopher Hitchens and compare them to the average American speaker.
Well, Christopher Hitchens is a public intellectual. If you talk to your average British person, they're fucking retarded. If anything, they're dumber than Americans because they agreed to let the government take their guns away. And they love importing the worst of the third world into their country, too. Thanks for the donation, though, Ben Boy.
People, these psychopathic doctors, going after me personally and my family and my business for exposing what they've done to me. I spent these past 2 years hoping that one of these doctors would try to help me and actually be
what is he trying to get out of this? He's just a whiny fucking baby.
Able to fix my eyes, but that is not the case. Do not let these doctors operate on you. If they make a mistake, they cannot fix it, they will not fix it, and they will not care about you. And most people are way worse off than me because they don't have a platform to speak about what.
If you knew the truth about Google reviews, you might never trust a doctor ever again. Because this is the review that I left after this doctor botched my face. 76 interactions on Google under this doctor's name. But when I logged out of my personal email, I couldn't even find the review. How creepy is that? Google knows that I placed that review and they want me to think that my review.
Let me see. Is there a search function here? When would he have left this? Reviews are automatically processed to detect inappropriate content like fake reviews and spam. We may take down reviews that are flagged in order to comply with Google policies or legal obligations. So, if his review was taken down, there's a good chance that he just sent something to Google with his lawyer, and they took it down. Because it is illegal to leave fraudulent reviews. I don't know if they actually, like, this is fucking stupid. I don't know why I have to. 436 reviews. It's with his account, right? When did you leave this? Oh! He left 4 reviews. That might be why. They might have taken it down for spam. Eye surgery. Yeah, they might have just removed his reviews for spam because he left 4. If he just left 1, that might have not have happened. So lowest, worst doctor for eye surgery. Yeah, I can't find Frank's. I'm assuming yeah, he probably just spammed the reviews, and that's why it was taken down. He's stupid. He's so stupid.
76 interactions on Google under this doc.
He didn't leave 4 reviews, says total amount of reviews person did. Oh, okay, never mind then.
Doctor's name.
That's stupid.
But when I logged out of my personal email, I couldn't even find the review. How creepy is that? Google knows that I placed that review and they want me to think that my review is still there. But when I go into an incognito tab, I can't find my review at all. There's a few new negative reviews there, which is why I filed a lawsuit against Google, because if they were being truthful about their reviews, it's a very likely possibility that I would have never gotten this surgery. And there's no way of knowing how many reviews have been manipulated. You can only guess based on the doctor's reputation how many people have been botched. I would bet, truthfully, 1 to 200 negative reviews have been removed. I would bet this doctor would have a 2 to 3 star rating based on how many negative experiences I have heard about him. And this is a huge deal, but you know, these doctors, Google, they're all owned by secret societies, Freemason, Illuminati, and their goal is to ruin your life and keep as much money for themselves as possible. I mean, that's what the elite want. The elite want all the resources to themselves, and they don't care about you. So taking your money and ruining your face falls perfectly in line with their belief. It's cruel, it's horrific. These people should be thrown in prison, but that is the truth that they don't want you to know. They are manipulating these Google reviews so that they can stay rich while ruining people's lives. It's horrible, it's despicable, and I would guess if they had to actually pay out money based on the amount of people they've harmed, they would lose every cent they've earned, however many billions or trillions of dollars it is. Because imagine if every single doctor's Google reputation is being manipulated. How many doctors is that throughout the United States? How many medical procedures wouldn't have been performed if the person had known about those other negative reviews? How is Google allowed to be able to manipulate these reviews? And if I get a court, let's say this goes through the court system, I get a subpoena, you think these people are going to tell the truth in court? You know how easy it is to lie? These people swear death oaths, like blood oaths, that they will be killed to be initiated into these groups. So if you think they're not going to tell a little lie in the court system that they deleted a few reviews, it's who knows if there's a solution to this.
Okay, he's just crazy.
How are you, ladies? Would you like to answer a question for YouTube?
Sorry, no thank you.
Dude, what the? That's how the live stream starts off? He looks like a fucking crack addict? Oh my god.
I got a quick, I got a few minutes down here in the city, so I'm gonna try to do a live stream. I'm not in a great spot, so I don't know if people are gonna really want to answer any questions. I'll be on the live stream. And I don't really want to hand out flyers.
It's like a weird, deranged crack addict.
I mean, this street's kind of popular. It's just like, it's not a park or anything, so it's kind of hard to get people to... Maybe? Yeah, for $1 million too? Oh, all right. We got one. Some girl wants to, I don't believe her, for just $1 million.
What's $1 million? I just said $1 million.
Yeah, I'm just having people answer a question for YouTube.
What question you want?
So, if someone came up to you and said, you're gonna be ugly, like if someone...
I'm not ugly, I'm beautiful.
No, you're not, but what the question is, if someone said, okay, I'm gonna give you whatever amount of money you want, but you're gonna be ugly, how much would it have to be?
So you want me to be ugly for money?
Yes, that's the question. So if someone came up...
How can I be ugly for money?
So no amount of money. No amount of money you'd be ugly for.
I'm too beautiful, I can't be ugly for money.
So you wouldn't take... So if I said, I'll give you $10 million to be uglier, would you do
I'll
it?
do you myself, he's already ugly.
So you don't want to be ugly for any amount of money.
I'll see you later.
I'll go, my friend. Should take that guy's number down. He's a contractor. If I move down back to this forsaken city. All right, miss. Would you like to answer a question for YouTube?
Sorry.
You don't have to be on camera. I'll just ask you the question.
Sorry, I'm late for
No, it's okay. Miss. Legit. Quick question for YouTube. You don't have to be on camera. I can just ask the question.
Thank you.
Sure. How are you, sir? Did you want to answer a quick question for YouTube? You don't have to be on camera. I'll just ask the question.
Yeah, sure.
Okay, sure. So, if someone was going to give you any amount of money, right, but you had to be uglier, how much money would it be?
How much money?
So you're going to be ugly, but I'll give you a check for any amount of money you want. But you're going to be ugly. How much would that be?
Yeah, let's make it for $1 billion.
$1 billion. No less. You wouldn't take like $1 million. It'd have to be more.
Yeah, of course. With $1 million, what can you do?
Yeah, right? So it'd have to be $1 billion. How much would it be?
I think it's priceless, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah,
I don't.
priceless.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Someone had to pay you.
Okay.
Someone had to pay you any amount of money to be uglier. How much would it be?
I think it's priceless, yeah.
I agree.
Yeah.
I don't.
Priceless.
I agree 100%.
Yeah.
Thank you so much.
You're welcome.
Yeah.
Okay.
Right. We'll get the elbows and your head to the floor.
Making his arm muscles much stronger will make them far more developed. By using heavier and heavier weights, his arms will get stronger and larger. But at any time, if he feels satisfied with the development he's got, he'll just use the same weight and keep the same build. There's no need to take it to the utter extremes that you see some people do take it.
Some good nips.
Phone your file, son.
Well, Lawrence, I know as well as doing weight training you do a bit of karate. Do you think that weight training has helped you in your karate, or has it slowed you up at all?
Oh, weight training's helped me terrific. It hasn't slowed me down at all.
So you think because you're a bit stronger, you're probably better at karate than you would have?
Oh, yeah, much better, I think. Much
okay,
better.
well, can we see a bit of karate?
Certainly. Being a cab driver, of course, you spend a great deal of time sitting on your rump, and there have been times when I've got out of my cab and not been able to stand up straight. I got to about 45, on 30 years driving experience. I was suffering considerably from a lot of back trouble, I went to the hospital, it was x-rayed, and they diagnosed acute lumbago and suggested that exercise would be the best way of alleviating it. So I did no more but come down here, and I saw Dave, who was then the owner of this gym, and he said, certainly you're not too old at 45 to start training, providing you take it, you know, steady and don't go too mad and try and keep up with the young fellas, which something I was always endeavoured to do. And I've never had any back trouble since that day, I'm pleased to say. I feel much better. Every workout, you always feel good after a workout. I think most of the young fellas will tell you that. I think anyone of any age group, man or woman, could benefit from weight training. And especially people who have jobs where they're not very active. Since I've started this weight training, it's been 4 years almost now, I've lost over a stone in weight, which I think most older people need to do, and I feel considerably much better for it, I must say. And I only wish I'd have started it a lot sooner.
When I was at college and university, and when you're young, you partake in a lot of sports, and I particularly took part in a lot of football. But as society has it these days, you end up in a job sitting down all day, and at the present time I'm a sales executive and spend most of my time either at a desk or flying around Europe, going out for large meals once or twice a day. So I have the double problem of eating too much, being too lazy, and not having much spare time to work it off. And you need a lot of spare time for most sports. So it seemed to me that weightlifting was the best solution to this.
Yes, well, I'm a dental surgeon, and I found I was getting into a rut where I was gradually falling into the trap of a mundane routine where I just wasn't getting any exercise at all. I started putting on weight, and I thought, well, something must be done about this, so I took up weight training. I've been doing it for about 3 years now. I find it's a good way to maintain a high standard of fitness and strength, which equips you to do for practically any sport that you take up. And for instance, last year I cycled from John O'Groats to Land's End. Not in record time, but in a reasonable time. And I probably spent more time training down here in the gym with weights than I did actually in the saddle. Which goes to show that you can attain an above-average standard of fitness and strength in the gym for a sport which in itself doesn't use weights at all.
Well, I first started training about 7 years ago, and I saw a little picture, a little drawing in the paper, and said to me, Dad, I'd like to sort of do a bit of training. So he found out a local gym for me, and since I've been training quite regularly.
You know, for real, they do have better physiques than some natty fitness YouTubers. Like, it's kind of funny.
I've been in for a few physique competitions, mainly because I enjoy going in for them. I've done quite well, won a few titles, you know, and I just enjoy training in general. The lads I train with a good laugh. We come down and enjoy ourselves. It's not all serious. We have a good laugh and go out for a drink afterwards. I enjoy being like I am, my body like it is. It just makes me feel proud. I just feel proud of being like I am. I wouldn't give up training, unless, of course, something has happened that I can't foresee, but I wouldn't give up training at all. I can see myself doing it the next 20 years. I'll still be training. It's just a part of my life.
When you've done a workout, you feel good inside. You feel that you can...
This guy looks weird.
I don't know.
What's with the faces?
Tackle things more easily. I happen to do stunt work in the films. I'm one of the younger members. I'm in a stunt register. I try to keep fit so that if I get a job, I can go to that job knowing that I'm confident enough to perform my particular feat. And not only that, it gives you confidence. Well, I suppose doing the job gives you confidence. So really, that's why I do it, I suppose.
I took up weightlifting for the reason that I've had about 5 years with a weak stomach, and I really suffered with a weak stomach, and used to lose at least 2 months of every year off from work with it. And the doctor told me I would have to pack up smoking, of which I did after a big effort. And a friend of mine who used to go weightlifting said, why don't you come with me? He considered it would do me good. Well, the state I was in at the time, I thought it was a big joke. But he persuaded me to come, and under supervision from the gym, they gave me exercises to suit me with a weak stomach. And I've now been at it for close on 3 years, and I've never lost a day's work since. I've never felt so fit in my life. And to me, it's a hobby that I wouldn't pack up under any conditions. I think it's the finest thing I ever started. If you value your health, I think you should do something for it. And my way of thinking is nothing.
You could live in any decade in the 1900s, which one? Probably 1980s. That was a really cool decade.
Nothing better than weightlifting. I'm 55 in May. I'm a forklift driver. It's manual work, quite a bit of manual work, of which I used to have a terrible job to get through the day. Now it means nothing. It's just quite easy. And in fact, I'm not saying this just for the sake of saying it, but I can honestly say I go through a day and don't feel tired even.
People don't even know, man. There's so many people who don't even realize how much better their lives would be. They just worked out a little. Ugh. It is very late. It's almost 4 a.m. I think I'm gonna pack it up now, even though the stream wasn't too long tonight, but I should get to bed and get some sleep. But hope you all had fun. Big thanks to everybody who donated on Streamlabs. Really appreciate it. I might skip tomorrow's workout stream just so I can get the workout done quicker and then just try to stream at a normal time tomorrow. I think I'll probably do that because especially for my back and bicep day, that workout takes a little longer, and then with the stream, it tends to take way longer, so I think I'll just get that out of the way as quickly as I can and then just stream earlier. But hope you all had fun. Big thanks to everybody who donated on Streamlabs. Really appreciate it. And I should see you all tomorrow. So take care.